Previously on AMC's The Walking Dead.
You are hereby directed to surrender for trial by the people of Dramia, Dr. Leonard McCoy, Medical Officer, USS Enterprise. This is some kind of joke?
The wanton slaughter of hundreds of people is not a joke, Captain.
Slaughter? Hundreds of people?
According to this, Dr. McCoy was responsible for a plague.
Your Dr. McCoy headed a mass inoculation program on Dramia II 19 years ago. When his force left, a massive plague struck the planet, killing most of its people.
That doesn't mean he was responsible for it.
His trial will tell, Captain.
And now, the conclusion.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
And the ineluctable Mr. Spock.
Mr. Spock, my first officer.
Captain Dr. Spock in love?
I can't imagine.
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
Did I ever tell you about the time I saved Captain Kirk's life?
Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
What a blessing to be able to live one's life over again. If the life you've led has left you unfulfilled.
Nuch, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And right off the bat, it's promotion time. We've gathered here today to promote one of our officers.
Dun, 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 dun. You've got to play some presidential. I don't know.
I'll play the promotion drop. We have a promotion drop.
Okay, cool. What does that sound like?
It's the one. Do you remember in Star Trek Generations, the beginning when they're on the Enterprise, the sailing ship Enterprise? And Worf is getting promoted, and they make him go out on the plank, and he has to jump up and grab the hat and that whole bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I don't remember the music, though. I remember the scene, but don't remember the music.
So, Lieutenant Bruce, get your ass out on that plank, because it's time for your promotion.
Extend the plank!
Bruce jumped a shit ton of ranks all at once and has elevated himself to the rank of Founding Admiral.
Computer, remove the plank!
We are so thankful for that. Thank you, Bruce. You're the best.
Bruce. Thanks, Bruce.
This episode comes to you a little less than 40 days to the election in the United States at this point. And if you're listening to us in the United States, we want you to make sure you have a plan to vote. Check your voter registration. You can do that at vote.org. I don't want to sound alarmist and be like, every election in my lifetime has been the most important election of my lifetime. But this is a really important election. So
they're all important. And yeah, if you are able to vote and eligible to vote, then vote. And please don't just say, well, you don't like any of the candidates, so you're just not voting, because no vote is a vote for somebody that you may not want. And thankfully, Facebook did remind me to, it does this thing every election. It says, are you registered to vote? And I was like, oh, am I? I think I am in this state, because this will be the first presidential election that we've had since we moved to Colorado. So I just checked and I was like, okay, I don't have anything. I don't have to do anything.
The nice thing here is that they update that shit at the DMV when you come and switch your license over. So like you're no question it's taken care of. But I double checked too. I went to vote.org yesterday and made sure, because you don't know.
Yeah, and you just don't want to gamble because and I'm going to be voting by mail this year.
Okay. We always do the early vote Dropbox thing.
Yep, that's what I'll be doing because I won't be here.
Mm-hmm.
I will be out of the country, and Alexa thinks I'm talking to her. So,
Alexa, fire torpedoes. Alexa, red alert. I'm just fucking with the listeners now. Alexa, fire photon torpedoes.
I hope they have it on loud so that their Alexa can pick it up.
Also, like, I think it's really awesome that the people of Star Trek have come together in support of democracy. We have the Women of Star Trek for Kamala, which is just fucking amazing. Geeks and Nerds for Harris is another group that has popped up that is very centered in the Star Trek community. George Takei, LeVar Burton, Jerry Ryan, Anthony Rapp, Robert Picardo. Like, they're all the big names in Star Trek have come together to raise money and promote the candidates who are closest to the Star Trek vision of the future that we want. Again, you're not going to get the perfect candidate, right? We're voting for the candidate who gets us a little bit closer to this ideal that we want for our humanity.
Right. We're putting a lot of hope into this. And I would imagine like any stars that don't support her are probably going to be stumm, you know, like they're going to not say a lot.
Robert Beltran, for example. Yeah. Also, I woke up this morning. You woke up this morning. It's 48 degrees here in the Centennial State. Is that what we're called?
I don't know. I actually don't know what we're called. Shame on me. It's 45 here in Aurora.
Boom, baby. I'm brand new and I got it right. Colorado is nicknamed the Centennial State.
Correct. Nice.
Look at me knowing shit.
Well, you should take that Colorado test and get citizenship or something. I don't know. What do you get for that? Nothing.
No, they take my taxes either way, whether I know anything about the place or not. It's fucking beautiful out. It's so nice. I'm so happy. Fall's here, y'all. Happy fall.
Hell yeah. I want to go cook something. This weather just makes me want to like get the crock pot out and throw some in it and sit by the fire with a blanket.
Yes. Chili in the crock pot. Oh man, I'm ready. Well, because it's cooler weather has struck, then it's also cold and flu season. So everyone make sure you go get your flu vaccines and all of those things for the season coming up, because you don't want to catch the plague like that planet in Star Trek, the animated series, season 2, episode 4, Albatross. We got there.
You got there. That's nice.
Oh, God.
And the last thing if you catch the plague, you don't want to have McCoy as the doctor. That's for damn sure.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Pursuit. Yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
KSM are wrapping up a DoorDash mission to the planet Dramia. Dropping off some medical supplies. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to describe these aliens of the week?
They're like really tall and orange. They have each of their heads are shaped like a different way. And they have these little ears. Like I've seen these ears in somewhere else. Kind of like bat ears. Like if you ever looked at a bat.
Right.
They've got small waists and hips, massive torsos and feet, and they have 4-fingered hands with like long fingers, and they're kind of orange.
Their faces to me look like pugs. They've got these wrinkly, scrunchy, like
a dog pug.
Take a screenshot of that because that's really funny.
Oh, can I? Wait. No, stay there for like 2 more minutes.
Okay. I got to get some wrinkles in there. If somebody hits me in the back while I stay like this.
You did it perfectly.
Oh God. So they're on the planet saying their goodbyes. Kind of weird to start an episode at off to the next adventure, but okay. Just as Kirk calls Scotty to beam out, the Drayman Supreme Prefect, voiced by Jimmy Doohan, turns to his number one, Deimos, voiced by Lou Scheimer, And Demos is like, wait a minute, yous guyses. I've got a warrant for the arrest of one Dr. Leonard McCoy. And Kirk's like, well, this was never a question of if, but when. What the fuck did he do this time?
No, Kirk is like flabbergasted. And well, so there's Kirk, McCoy, and Spock standing there. Why did they wait? Well, okay. So he asks for what, and apparently McCoy has slaughtered hundreds of people on Dramia II 19 years ago. They're saying that he's responsible for a plague that wrapped 19 years ago. And the warrant is perfectly in order and it's approved by the Federation. If the Federation obviously knows about this warrant, why didn't they tell him beforehand? And why did they wait until they wait until they got their medication before they're like, oh, by the way, you're under arrest.
This was such a red flag or plot hole or whatever, because you're right. There's no way the Federation would have signed off on this and not given Kirk a heads up. I was a leader at Disney, and anytime HR came in after one of my team, they always looped me in first. I always knew what was going on.
Right.
There's no way that the Federation signed off on this. Kirk's like, is this some kind of joke? And the prefect says, no, joking was last week on Star Trek, the animated series.
Surprise, surprise.
We're done with the practical jokes. That was last week.
Surprise, surprise.
So some time passes and Kirk and Scotty are on a phone call. Scotty's ready to beam down with a team full of heaters. And Kirk's like, whoa, buddy, cool off. We'll handle this. So they go to the Hall of Justice, and Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman are all there.
That's what I was thinking too. He's like, and I kept remembering the Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Back at the Hall of Justice, Demos is explaining why they think McCoy has killed all these people. He headed a mass inoculation program on Dramia II, and when he left, a massive plague struck, killing almost everybody. And, Kirk and Spock are like, well, it could be a coincidence. That doesn't mean he's responsible for it, but they want to have a trial.
Kirk's got his suit and briefcase now, and he starts arguing. I had the night court drop ready to go. Sadly, we don't get there. He calls the Dramian justice system a kangaroo court, and even Spock's like, whoa, Jim, you're like a 12, and I need you at a 3.
You're being emotional.
Mm-hmm. So Kirk and Spock meet with McCoy in his holding cell, and McCoy's like, guys, I told them to wear masks, get the vaccine, stay 6 feet apart, but they wanted to take horse pills and shove bleach up their asses. I did what I could.
Yeah.
He's really questioning himself right now. And I gotta say, and this is going to take a lot out of me here. I have never connected with McCoy as deeply as I did in this scene. I have to make an admission. I have to.
Only in this scene, because the rest of the time, no.
Right.
But he's like, well, maybe did I do something? Could it have been something that was my fault? Or
that just happened to me like last week.
Yeah.
I had a thing happen and I was like, oh man, am I the one? Am I the one that's wrong? Fuck.
AITA, am I the asshole?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, so he's having this am I the asshole moment right now, because he's like, you did what I went there to do, but maybe I made a mistake of some kind.
But also he's like, fuck, you guys, that was 19 years ago. I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, which is something that I say all the time. Like, you can't expect me to remember 19 years ago. Get the hell out of here.
And so another question, why did they wait 19 years for the warrant?
Right? We just waited for them to come back.
Wasn't there a statute of limitations in space? What?
That's a great point. Why would the Federation have signed off on this?
Yes. Well, the Federation should have said, well, you should have done something 19 years ago when all your people died.
You raised a point earlier, though, that I want to pull back on, which is Spock bringing the rational, calm clarity to this whole mess that, correlation does not equal causation. Maybe your vaccine program ending and the plague beginning have nothing to do with each other, and it's just coincidence.
Right. Because right now, they have absolutely no proof. These two things timed at the same time, they have no proof that is actually was his fault. So
So defense attorney Kirk and his trusty assistant Spock are going to do some pretrial investigative work. And as they leave, the guard reminds McCoy that their justice system is swift. So we're on the clock.
Back on the bridge, Kirk and Spock are doing some digging into the historical records, which 19 years ago, apparently pretty spotty.
They've got the Encyclopedia Britannica Volume D out reading about the Dramian system.
All it has is, stuff about the solar system, meteor showers, et cetera, et cetera. And then this weird antiquated screen comes up and it starts typing out plague, Dramia II, of unknown origin. It's characterized by pigmentation changes in the skin of the victim, debilitation, and death. And certain species known to have natural immunity, notably Vulcan. And
ain't that handy?
Like, yeah. Well, hey, Vulcans are awesome.
We get a quick cut back at the Hall of Justice where the guard is telling Deimos about Kirk's plans to investigate on Dramia II, and Deimos orders a patrol ship ready.
And off the Enterprise goes to Dramia II. It's going to take them 4 hours to get there.
And Kirk's log, he takes authority here. He takes responsibility for his actions. They're out of communications range with Starfleet because that's how subspace communications work when they need it to.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just doing what he thinks is right out in the western frontier in space. So Kirk orders Scotty to step on the gas and get us to Dramia II quickly, considering the Dramian justice system being swift and all that. But just as they jump to Warp 6, Sulu registers a ship in pursuit. It's a one-person craft, and at first, Uhura and Kirk are about to make a phone call, but Kirk decides to pretend not to notice the craft and carelessly leave the hangar doors open.
That's so funny. I don't know where he came up with the idea to trick them. He knows it's Deimos, and he's just gonna let Deimos think that we don't notice him, and we're just gonna leave the bay open, and he can just slide right on in, slide into his DMs.
Yeah.
And
but then they're gonna be waiting outside the door in the hallway to nab him. And sure enough, Sulu opens the hangar doors. The ship flies in, and Kirk. Now hold on, because if I'm Deimos, and what we saw was Deimos is flying his little ship, and he sees the hangar doors on the Enterprise open. And then he just flies himself in. Would he not think, well, that's odd. Why did they just open the door for me?
Yeah.
If the doors were open before Deimos got close enough to see them, that would make sense. But this is a Saturday morning cartoon, and I need to get over it, I guess. Anyway.
Hey, last 3 episodes. They are grasping, okay?
So the ship flies in. Kirk and Spock are in the hallway. They grab him. And they have a little back and forth. But in the end, Spock makes it clear that Deimos is a stowaway, and they are impounding his car.
So they're arriving at Dramia II, and Deimos is there with them. They're on the bridge first, and Spock is checking the radiation level, and there's non-lethal, and they're going to beam down, and Deimos is going to go with them.
So everything seems normal so far, except this aurora in the area that must be important because it made mention in the captain's log. Maybe it's that energy being again protecting her children, or energy fucking Zephram Cochrane or something.
Oh yeah, that's the companion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so we head down to the transporter room with Deimos. Why are we taking him with us? I thought that was an odd choice. The prisoner is going on the away mission. I don't know. There's got to be a story requirement coming up. So here we go.
And Deimos insists that he's going. So Kirk's fine.
So they beam into this bombed out looking shithole planet. And Kirk voices this, which Deimos points out, this is what plagues do. This is a result of McCoy's shit doctoring. And Kirk's yeah, I suppose that I could see that.
That sounds like McCoy. I mean, but 19 years that they've dealt with this and they didn't do anything until now.
Uh-huh.
But they do see something in the background running, and Kirk wants to know is this some kind of trouble we should be aware of? And apparently the few people that are left, they don't like outsiders.
Apparently, there's like the Dramians on Dramia II see non-Dramia II Dramians as outsiders also, maybe, or not, or just humans. That wasn't made very clear. But he says it's the distinction between the world of the living and the world of the walking dead. Kirk's like, I fucking came here for answers. So he chases the Dramian, but the Dramian seems to disappear, and Spock points out there's an opening in the cartoon foam rock playset nearby. They're cave people, which Deimos again blames on McCoy.
Because, well, they had a city, and the ruins was just all the industrial stuff, and then they've reverted to caves in 20 years.
So the Dramian that they were chasing is up on the top turnbuckle, and he jumps down onto Kirk, and it takes Spock and Deimos to pull him off. And then he starts sobbing.
Oh.
And Deimos explains how there were no survivors. This guy must be one of those people that they were some people who were off on holiday during the plague, and then they came back and were like, fuck, what happened here? So that must be this guy. That's his deal. And Spock puts a hand on this dude's shoulder to comfort him. What?
Oh.
I was shocked by this.
I mean, why?
Because it's Spock. He's not the comforting type.
No, but he's actually very compassionate. He's just, you know what I mean? He's a nice guy.
I think your attraction is clouding your.
You see, that's how it happens. I really have a bad judge character.
Oh God!
But yeah, I do. I have a thing for him, and he's compassionate. Just as they're saying there were no actual survivors, they hear a voice, and the voice says, "You're wrong. There was a survivor. I, Coltai, survived. By what miracle I do not know." And it's a very old Dramian. Kirk wants to know what he remembers. And he remembers there were people all around, but they were all turning colors, like first blue, then green, and then finally red before they died.
Just like Spock's Encyclopedia Britannica. And he definitely remembers Dr. McCoy because McCoy saved his life from Saurian virus. Do you think the treatment for Saurian virus is Saurian brandy?
Brandy?
Yeah, I bet that's McCoy's treatment.
Yeah, he just injected them all with brandy. I guess the brandy's not the only thing that's Saurian, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Kirk feels like, okay, this guy is a material witness. We can keep him. You know, you're going to have to come back with us. So they beam him back aboard the Enterprise and get underway for Dramia.
Yeah, Warp 6 with their star witness resting in sickbay. But like a bunch of fucking idiots, they drive the Enterprise right through the Aurora cloud thing.
So it's this, I don't know.
It's a cloud.
Cloud.
Like you think of like the Northern Lights is as an
Mhm.
aurora, right? Similar to that. But yeah, it has those primary colors similar to the color changing of the people.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I didn't get it.
Nope.
I didn't get it first. I didn't get it at first. So.
And so they fly into the cloud and the computer starts cackling as food comes flying out of the food synthesizers. Remember, this is how we picked up the practical joker. Why are we flying into clouds?
They don't learn.
That was just last week, damn it. Anyway. Unfortunately, as they approach Dramia, Spock reports that Coltai is turning blue. So they're setting up a quarantine, getting the horse pills ready, and Kirk expresses the need to save him. And Deimos is like, yeah, for McCoy. And Kirk's like, where's my camera? Is this my camera? Yes, of course for McCoy, but also for Coltai too. Like, you see, we place a high value on life, all life, not just our own. And the camera cuts to Deimos for a reaction shot, and he is shook, but not about the whole value of life thing. No, Kirk has also now turned blue.
And they pan to different parts of the ship, and everybody's turning blue. Scotty in engineering, he's turned blue. Sulu, Uhura, and then now Deimos is also turning blue.
Everybody except for Spock.
Of course.
Of course.
Because he's immune. Handy, isn't it? Like you said.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And Kirk passes off command to Spock as he collapses. The top of Act 3 starts with all of our blue crew members gathered together doing some percussive drumming on some pipes and shit. Got the Blue Man Group going on.
Spock has gone ahead and ordered General Order 6.
And the camera cuts to various planets around the Empire as the clone trooper sleeper agents are activated and start picking off Jedis.
Commander Kennedy, the time has come. Execute Order 6.
Yes, my lord.
And all the younglings are they're going into schools and killing all the youngling Jedis.
I think this is the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge, because as I was looking up General Order 6 to make the General Order 66 joke, I discovered that General Order 6 has been mentioned elsewhere in Star Trek previous to this, and it did not mean what it means here. So I think that's the answer to this week's question, which we got wrong.
So General Order 6 is self-destruct the ship. Everybody on board has perished at the end of 24 hours. Then blow the ship up.
No!
I just thought of another component to this that's like, do you remember when everybody was turned into salt?
Mm-hmm.
There have been, how many derelict ships have we come across where the crew is dead and they didn't execute General Order 6 and blow themselves up to prevent the Enterprise who comes along and stumbles across them to do an investigation to keep them from getting the disease?
Maybe they just weren't a good crew like the Enterprise. I don't know, but you're right. They could have, and they didn't have time. I don't know. They weren't thinking ahead.
Anyway, on the bridge, Spock sends Sulu to sickbay because he's starting to collapse too. And after some time passes, Kirk steps off the turbo lift and he collapses onto the floor, talking about how we need to get McCoy to help find the antidote. No, you call 1-800-MBANGA.
No, but Kirk thinks he needs McCoy.
Hell, Nurse Chapel could handle this. Come on.
Honestly, they could. Spock goes over to Uhura's console. She's passed out, but he just steps over her, and then makes a call to Dramia and says that we need to speak to the Supreme Prefect. Of course, they want to know, why are you calling and not Kirk? And Spock's like, well, we've had the plague is on board the Enterprise, basically. He's like, you got to release McCoy ASAP so that he can find an antidote.
Put an ankle monitor on him or whatever you need to do, but
right.
Yeah.
But they say no. This is a trick. You expect us to trust you, and they're like, no.
Yeah, he's like, Deimos has the plague and can't speak. Your surprise witness has the plague and can't speak. This sounds like some Vulcan bullshit right here.
Spock's like, yeah, I could see how you would think that.
Yeah.
They end the transmission, and Kirk is like, you got to break him out of jail.
And Kirk's turning green now.
Yep.
Which is the next phase of the disease. So Spock's plan is to beam down and get McCoy himself, since Vulcans are immune to whatever this is. Remember a couple weeks ago when Spock was like, gee, Cap, I don't know, Vulcans just can't go around neck pinching any old species. Yeah, Spock rolls up and drops the guard with a neck pinch.
Yeah, he can. That was absolute bullshit.
So he does the Vulcan neck pinch and uses this dude's gadget to open the force field. And McCoy's like, are you and Jim high? This is a jailbreak. And Spock's like, indeed. Now get in the fucking car. We gotta go.
and McCoy's like, no, it's illegal.
I gotta stand trial. And not just because I gotta stand trial because that's the right thing to do, but I need to know the truth. We have to go through this discovery process because I'm really kind of fucked up about this and not sure if this was my fault or not. And he's like, I need to know. And Spock's like, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. But
right now we've got a plague aboard the Enterprise, and for some fucking reason, Kirk thinks you can fix this. So
and McCoy's like, the plague? Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? Let's go. And Spock's like, well, you wouldn't shut up long enough.
Kirk was good health-wise enough to transport them back, and as soon as they get back, he collapsed again. This next scene is what irritates the shit out of me. So now McCoy is in sick bay, and I guess Spock is on the bridge.
Yeah, Spock's up on the bridge Googling for any diseases that might have similar symptoms.
So that's all they're doing. That's all McCoy is doing, is saying, hey, Spock, you got anything yet? Because Spock is still doing all the work and all the searching regarding all the known diseases. So he doesn't have anything yet.
And McCoy's all, well, work harder, damn it.
They're in the terminal stage.
You're the chief medical officer, bro.
Exactly. Like, this is what good are you if all you need is your only purpose is to tell Spock to Google shit?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Like, what? I'm like, what? I was so mad. At this point, Kirk is turning yellow. And he does say, his readings are shifting, and it's like, it must be that damn Aurora. And then Kirk wakes up long enough to say, that's it. Aurora changing color. They make the connection.
Apparently there was an Aurora 19 years ago too. So that's the lowest common denominator here. That's got to be the source of the plague, not McCoy. But that doesn't answer how to cure it. Spock's like, well, there's no known antidote, but you remember this Koltai dude from 19 years ago? You treated him with Saurian brandy. So maybe we just beam some bottles down and that we're good. So they quickly work out that it was probably the Saurian virus antibodies in Koltai's blood that made him immune.
I mean, maybe. But so I also had I couldn't wrap my head around this either. And they were just reaching. So he has antibodies for a virus that has nothing to do with this new virus. But they make an assumption, another coincidence, that he's just because he has antibodies that is what kept him from getting whatever this is. I don't know.
Agreed.
I mean, it's a cartoon alley.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dr. Crusher would have taken some blood samples from this guy and taken some blood samples from one of the infected people and like done some tests on putting the antibodies into that blood sample before we do, let's go fill up the hypo sprays and just shoot everybody with this shit.
Right.
But it's a Saturday morning cartoon. So they whip up some hypo sprays, get to injecting everybody. And sure enough, all the colors turn back to normal. Big celebration in sickbay. Even Deimos thanks McCoy for saving his life. Speaking of big celebrations, there's a big ceremony on the planet for Dr. McCoy, honoring him for his significant achievements in interstellar medicine. Although I would argue that Find the Cure sequence had Spock doing the lion's share of the work.
As usual.
Anyway, they're about to beam up again. And this time the Supreme Leader thanks McCoy for his part. And McCoy shows a little humility, suggesting that thanks are also due to Spock and Kirk. The Dramians will forgive the jailbreak, and the Starfleets will forgive Deimos sneaking aboard the Enterprise.
And they hurry up and de-ass the planet because they're like, wait, let's get the fuck out of here. And they beam back up.
So chair chat on location in the transporter room this week, although this seems more like a setup for Jerry Springer to me. Kirk's ready to get back to Starbase, and McCoy's ready to get back to his mundane work in sickbay. And Spock just cannot resist poking the bear. Tells him he hopes he'll get back to dispensing the regular old vitamin rations to the crew, seeing how you've been slacking off lately. And McCoy's like, what the fuck, man? You know what we've been through lately. Spock says, Hippocrates would not have approved of lame excuses, Doctor. And McCoy's like, why that. Jim, if I'm ever in jail again, don't send that Vulcan to release me. Just let me rot, as he lifts a chair up over his head and the audience chants, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
Oh my God. I just thought it was funny that Spock is obviously giving him shit.
Yes.
And I love it.
Off to the next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
So my first big thing here was the scientific value of correlation does not equal causation. And this whole fucking thing could have been avoided if the Dramians didn't equate McCoy leaving with the cause of the plague. The whole damn thing could have been avoided if we just understood that correlation does not equal causation. And I don't know if young audiences would have taken that away from the episode, but I hope so, because what a great lesson. Also, like you mentioned too, the antibodies being the answer. We just assume that the correlation was a causation in that case too.
And then, yeah. And
that one turned out to be right. So here we have an example of one where we assume the correlation was incorrect and the other where we assume and it was correct.
You got lucky.
Yeah, but did audiences get that? I don't know.
I don't know. They had a stroke of luck because they didn't have any proof in either case.
Yeah.
I know they only had 28 minutes, but they didn't have any proof that the antibodies is really what, and they could have injected them with something and got it wrong.
Right.
But for the show, they got it right. This episode got a scathing critique from some guy in Star Trek Files magazine.
Ooh.
And I'll read you what he said, because I was like, you're right. You're right. This guy named John Pill, he's like, this has to be the most simplistic and childish of all the episodes ever written for the animated series. The aurora causing the disease was obvious to anyone once it is spotted, and the fact that nobody even thought of it is staggering. The entire crew of the Enterprise must have had brain rot or something, and the cure is equally as obvious once the fact that Koltai is the only survivor given and he was treated for Saurian virus. Talk about significant clues. Needless to say, we've seen this whole thing so many times over that it's a terminal bore. Once again, to suffer through it, Bones has to cure yet another deadly, inexplicable disease with no known antidote. Yawn. What amazes me is the wonderfully callous way that the rest of the deranged survivors of Dramia II are mentioned and then totally ignored when the plot's resolved. Presumably then they were left to rot there?
I wrote this. I want Lower Decks to do a second contact mission here to see if the cave-dwelling people of the shithole planet Dramia II were reintegrated into Dramian society, or how the two cultures interact now. That could be a fun follow-up for Mariner, Boymes, Tindy, and Rutherford. But yeah, we just fuck off, and as we do in Star Trek, we just fuck off and leave them there.
Bye.
Yeah,
I know. But I'm also curious, why didn't Dramia II, they're part of a system governing under the same governing body. What did you do to help your people? Yeah. Nothing. For 20 years, you felt like the only thing important was to get the person that you thought caused the plague, but not actually go down and help them reintegrate into society because the plague was gone.
Yep.
And you just left them dwelling in caves.
I think my critique of that guy's critique is the same critique that I have often of our own critique, which is this show was, yes, it was targeted to all ages.
Yeah.
However, it is still a Saturday morning cartoon. And so I'd like to take the 8 to 14 demographic and sit them down today and watch it and say, okay, 8 to 14-year-olds today, did you see did you spot the aurora a mile away? Or was that just a thing that we adults saw because our brains are more developed and we know we're pattern seeking creatures and we have trained ourselves better than children to notice those things, that kind of stuff. I think would be interesting.
But also you can't just show a child this episode and have never seen Star Trek before. They would not know what the fuck they're looking at. I don't think.
My last thought was, of course, the humanism shows up when Kirk talks about how we honor and respect all life forms, not just our own. And it was kind of a passing mention, but those little breadcrumbs, I guess, that are sprinkled throughout the Star Trek stories reinforce that sort of overall humanistic theme that we do value all life. And we don't always have to like put it on the pedestal with a spotlight on it every episode and say, this is what we're talking about this week. But that it does continue to show up like in those little ways.
And also the fact that, I know we hate McCoy, but he did feel guilty. He did feel some sort of responsibility. You know, hey, I took care of these people and then this happened.
Yeah.
And he did feel responsible for it and was willing to go to trial, you know, to find out the truth, whatever it might be. Because he was questioning, well, what if I did do it? And I mean, then that's definitely showing a humanism there. Rare in McCoy, but it's very, very rare to see it from him.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little services for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
We want to thank everyone who supports the show on Patreon. We especially want to thank our founding admirals. A special thanks to Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, Sherry, and Bruce. Thank you, patrons.
Thanks, guys.
Greetings, savvy profit seekers of the Alpha Quadrant. Your ears have stumbled upon the lucrative opportunity of a lifetime, Humanist Trek. Now, don't just stand there like a packwid waiting for enlightenment. Let's talk business. First, unleash your linguistic prowess and leave us a review. It's like planting the seeds of profit in the fertile soils of the podcasting market. Smart, right? Now, for those truly desiring a spot in the Ferengi Hall of Commerce, consider becoming a patron. It's not charity. It's an investment in the future of comedic prosperity. Early access, exclusive profit-branded merch, and bonus content so valuable, you'll feel like you discovered a cache of hidden gold-pressed latinum. Don't be a rule of acquisition violator. Head to patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge as low as $3 a month. The return on your investment? Priceless laughter! And the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting the galaxy's next big profit venture. Profit is our mission, and with your help, we'll be laughing all the way to Grand Nagus' bank.
Let me remind you that taking business advice from a female is a violation of Ferengi law. Shame on you!
I hope you're satisfied. I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
Becca is back now with the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for Albatross. Remind us again the question.
What plot hole exists in this episode when compared to the writer's director's guide for Star Trek?
Now, I think Allie had a legitimate guess here, and I said, put me down for I don't fucking know.
That's not what you said. You said, fuck man, I don't know.
Oh, close enough.
Okay.
But I think we know now.
Can you remind me what we said? Because I do.
Your guess was there was no clear answer as how the remaining survivor survived.
But we did get that answer. It was the Saurian brandy. Yeah.
No, but I think there's something else.
Okay, go ahead, because I think I know what the answer was too. We talked about it in the episode.
Did we? I don't think we did.
Okay, I thought in the episode we talked about, I thought that it was General Order 6, where all the clone troopers snapped and started picking off the Jedi. Yeah.
I think it's McCoy's beginnings, because canon describes McCoy as having joined Starfleet only in middle age after he was divorced.
Okay.
But this would mean he couldn't have worked on Dramia II during his early adulthood. So that was the only thing and I didn't bring that up, but I thought maybe that's
Okay, now. Do we still both get it wrong?
No, but we still both get it wrong.
Okay.
Incorrect.
Yeah. Now it's just for bragging rights.
Okay.
Yeah, if
who wins the bragging rights?
If Allie had said that last week, she would have gotten a point because it sounded like she was reading my notes. So my notes say, "Oh crap, my computer just went black."
You
Hold on.
cheating bitches.
My notes.
How after the fact?
My answer says, Writer-Director's Guide for Star Trek 1966 describes McCoy as having joined Starfleet only in middle age after he was divorced, which is just exactly what you just said.
Yeah, well, she did the research while when we went to record the show.
Right.
Recorded the question long before we watched the episode.
I know, but I was I'm just being...
So I may have found whatever
anyway,
you used as a source.
That would mean he couldn't have worked. I'm going on still on my notes. Worked on Dramia II during his early adulthood, but since it was never really definitely stated on screen, there was some wiggle room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, I really thought I had it with the General Order 6 thing because, and again, I need to verify my sources, but I read that General Order 6 in other episodes meant something different. And so that's what I thought it was.
I think that could have been an answer too, because it didn't. If they didn't say that that was a specific plot hole, maybe not. But
yeah,
there were a lot of plot holes.
Yeah. Every week.
Yeah, a lot.
All right. Well, next week then we are reviewing Star Trek: The Animated Series, Season 2, Episode 5. How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth. The Enterprise runs into a being that once visited Earth and influenced the Roman culture. Wait, no, Mayan culture. We've already Greek culture. Wait, have we done this before?
It's Ancient Aliens.
I don't know. Hey, what's the question for How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth?
The title, very weird title, frankly. It's like an incomplete sentence. Is based upon a quote from which play by William Shakespeare?
We know this.
Yeah.
This is King Lear. How sharper than a serpent's tooth that let its children be a dick to its parents.
Yeah,
That's
kids
pretty
are
much.
Being mom is a thankless job or something like that.
And not because we're Shakespeare experts, because we're recording shit out of order. But that's our answer. King Lear, lock it in, Regis, or whoever.
Regis, how dare you?
And we'll...
Final answer.
And if you want to play along, you know how to do that. No cheating, no Googling. Head out to your nearest social media. Share this episode with the hashtag Starfleet Challenge and your answer, and we will pick out someone to be our favorite. We'll find out if we're right next week when we review Star Trek: The Animated Series, Season 2, Episode 5, How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth.
Diftor, heh, musma.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.